Video here of me painting. Bear with me as I have technical issues. How I'm going to start this out is this is the number artist. Put this up on the screen here. 40-50-LZ8806. Cozy reading nook, I believe. So you basically have a wall with an open window seeing outward. You have a nice little lazy boy type of chair, library books everywhere, a cozy little lamp, I suppose a carpet and stuff. A lot of dark colors, but light and airy with the window there. It's a cozy little nook here. So this is the full canvas right here. I had it framed. That you can pay extra at numberartist.com. There's tons of these paint by number type things. This one happened to pop up randomly when I was on YouTube once, and I clicked on it, and I know there's tons of these paint by numbers type things. These where you can buy these kits, and if you buy a certain amount, you get a discount. I happened to buy, I think, 4. 2 that I've already painted that you've seen. The Serene Sakura Path. The ocean type, waves cracking in the sunset ocean. This is going to be this cozy reading nook. And then I've got one more left that's like a Japanese landscape. But unfortunately, they didn't frame that one, so I have to get that one framed first. So we're going to take a shot with this. We don't normally go live with things like this. We just play video games live. So again, bear with me. I'm trying this whole technical thing where you can see my hands and so first person. So I'll try to explain the stuff the best that I can as well. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to post the question. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll have at it. So when I start out, I want to make sure that I have a clean area to paint in. I happen to be sitting in the kitchen here. Kind of give you an idea. We're at an island in the kitchen here of the place that I rent temporarily here. I have my paint pods here. I had them all numbered. You saw that in the intro that I did. So they're easier to find. A little difficult when I have I have this right in front of me here. So when I put this at the monitor here, you could see my ugly mug back here. I have this sort of neck thing that I'm wearing that gives me this first person type of thing here so that you can see my hands and everything. We're going to go basically how I do when I upload my videos with live stuff. What I generally do is I do paints from 1 to 5. So I start out with 1 and I look for the number 1s all over this entire grid here. And then once I finish with 1s, I'll go to 2, work on all the 2s, again through 5. And then generally that could take me a good couple of hours to do. So if this takes 2 hours, great. If you get bored, I apologize. Again, it's meant for you to be relaxing. Now, normally when I upload videos, I add music to it, so I can't do that right now because of copyright strikes. So if you guys want to play something in the background while you're relaxing, you're more than welcome to. I wish there was some way I could add music in here, some AI music or something. But anyway, so we're going to start out. We want a clean area. You want to make sure that you've got some paper towels because you're going to dry wipe this acrylic. I want to add some water to, basically, the first time I started doing this, I just used this little like teacup thing and I would pour the water in there. Unfortunately, when I would slosh around the paintbrush with the water, it would drip all over the place. So I found this cool little container right here that I can drop this into. I can pour some water in here. Just drinking water, just pour some water, and then I pour some water just on the side of it because I know it's going to spill out, and it gives me basically, so if I do one color in there, I could do another color in there and then dry brush it off. take a sip of that. All right, trying not to throw in anything that'll be regarded as monetization and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you basic steps on how to paint. Basic steps on how to paint. We'll start off with the sets come with 6 paintbrushes, 2 of the same kind. So you get a thick paintbrush for big areas, large areas. Like that's going to be a large area that's going to require a larger brush to fill in. It comes with a medium brush so that you can do some of these medium areas, and then a fine line or thin. Let's see if I can it's kind of hard to do this on YouTube. When you're just uploading videos, you can like zoom in and do things like that. I'm not sure how to do it on YouTube here, but to get it to focus. But it's a fine line so that you can get into thinner areas without going over the line. Now, paint by numbers, again, you don't have to be a professional painter to do this. As long as you can kind of do your best to keep it within the area. But the reality is, we all have shaky hands. I have terribly shaky hands. So sometimes I'll overlap or I'll cover over a spot. You can also buy this sort of liquid paper type pen so you can like white out the number there. But I just put a little thicker paint on it and cover it up. And sometimes I leave that open just so I can come back and touch it up if I need to as well. So thick paintbrush for larger areas, medium for, just general areas. And of course, your paintbrushes will fan out as they touch the canvas. So you can always dip it in the water, dry it off, and then kind of roll it through your fingers to get that fine tip back again. Tip. Okay, so again, we're going to start out with number 1. I've got my water over here. I've torn up some paper towels so that I can have a color for each one that I use. We're going to start off with pod number 1 here, which looks like it's pretty bright yellow. It's some type of mustard yellow. Does it tell us on this card? Doesn't really tell us on the card. So generally, you have something that's lighter. I mean, I can't really explain color theory if you don't already know it. Hi there. Let me see. It's. I suppose I can look at. I have a monitor over here that I bought off of Amazon. Just a cheap little monitor that connects to my cell phone, so that I can at least see that you're talking to me there. So, Katarina Teague 1206 said hi. Hi there. How you doing? Aslin I5T said hi. Oval 616 says hello. Hello. All right, so we're going to open this little paint pod here, and again, with my shaky fingers, we're going to pry that open. Try not to get, well, that's going to happen. All right, again, I have this phone like right in front of me, so I may drop things. We're just going to kind of do our best. I bought a tripod, but at the moment, I can't quite figure out how to get that all set up. So here, let's get some of that paint off of us. All right, so we're going to try, and hopefully you can see the canvas on here. It's hard because the numbers are super teeny tiny on here, but we're going to look for number 1s. I'm going to start off with this medium brush here and try to look for some number 1s. First, I'm just kind of getting them in the water. Now, when you've got paint on the canvas and you use water directly without wiping your brush, it's going to make it more fluid, right? It's going to make it more thin, the paint on here. It's going to be more watery, so it's going to lighten up that color. So if you're doing a dark shadowy area like these dark areas in 18 here, and you want to maybe brighten it up a little bit, get a little bit of water in there to loosen up the paint a little bit so it's not so on the screen. All right out of the gate here, let's see if we can find a number 1. I'm bringing this phone with me here so I can, okay, so like right out of the gate, I've got a number 1 right here, a number 1 right here, here. Okay, so we'll start off. I'll tilt this up if I can. I think what I'm going to end up doing is getting like a DSLR camera or a GoPro type of thing. Because right now I have my Galaxy S25 Ultra on this thing, and it's weighing it down a little bit. All right, so we're going to gather up a little bit of paint here. I try not to get it on the metal if I can, so try to keep it on just the brush itself. All right, and coming here to a number 1 here. I'm looking past the camera phone here to try to get this first one in here. So I'm trying to stay within the lines if I can. Shaky hands are going to put it elsewhere. And just gently stroking, be that as it may, this is, well, we won't go outside of our general stroking and try to explain. So I'm just lightly touching this. Now, obviously, the number 1 is still seen right there, so I could just tap this on the number 1 and it's gone. We'll pick up a little bit more paint. That's a lot of paint, okay. Now again, if you think it's too much, you have your little towel that you can wipe it on. We'll go to the next number 1 here, which is just to the right of it. I want to get at a different angle here because it's a different shape. Now, painting and viewing art is, two different things. When you view art, you don't want to stand so close up because it just looks like blobs. And once you set back, you start to get an impression of what you're doing. Now, right now, we've just started, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here. I missed a little bit of that, so it went off to the left a bit. But the number 2 color is not that much different here. Okay. So we ran that a little bit on the edge here. Oops. Pushing the canvas. Okay. Grab us another one here. And our buddy at the Joy of Painting, who unfortunately is no longer living anymore, the 70s painters that we all kind of grew up watching, he had it set up. He was inside of a studio, so they obviously did it a lot better. Now, this is a much narrower spot. So generally, I would switch to the finer line brush to get into that spot, but we're gonna throw caution in the wind and try to see if we can not overlap this. See my hand shaking miserably here. Okay, so we got that into that point there. Now, just drag it along. Change the angle of our brush. We got a slight little gap here. We have more paint on the top of our brush than we do on the tip. So, well, I'm not going to be able to do that there, so let's try it on this number 1. I can rub it off in here. I know all that stuff sounds terrible, what I'm saying. I know it's going to give you a different impression of me. Well, you should already know that with my potty mouth, but we're not going into that category. That's all I need to do is get banned for the way I speak. And if my voice does sound familiar, you're right. If you did call me in the 80s and 90s, I was on a 900 number. Yes. Okay, moving on. All right, picked up a little bit more paint, a little too much. So now that's going to leave a big bulbous, erected thing here. So I can use that paint that's on here to use it down here. Finish painting this spot. I clearly scared away people with my my sassy tongue here. All right, see, we put a lot of paint on just this one here, so let's cover up the one. But I also don't want to leave a blotch of paint in certain spots. I screwed that part up right there. Oh well. All right. Again, you'll have to let me know how YouTube's compression and stuff picks this up if you're able to see what I'm doing. Cover up that little one there. Cover up the little one. Lighter colors are going to be a little bit difficult to cover up these numbers. These numbers are black on the screen here, or black on the canvas. So, okay. Those are all kind of to the edge there. All right, so those are all number ones just in that area. I see sevens around it. When your eyes start to get blurry, you start to get tired, take a break because some of the numbers will eventually start to blur together and you don't know what you're doing. The sevens look a lot like the ones if your eyes are getting funky, blurry. I got another set of ones up here, so we'll work on those. Looking past the phone here. Okay, so we go up here to these guys. I rest my hand on the canvas in an area that doesn't have paint on it so that I can get my brush a little bit more steady. Okay, that's a 1 and not a 4, so we can put that in there. I'm not manhandling the paintbrush. I'm just delicately tapping. I've got this a funky shape. And sometimes when you watch other painters where they just slap on paint, they just let it go, when they're not doing paint by numbers, they're doing something out of their mind, or they've drawn it out and then they're filling it in. You see them just put random colors on and they explain what they're doing. At least some of them do, except for the ones that just go and upload a speed run of painting. Then they just throw coats of paint on in different colors and hope for the best, but they obviously have a plan. They started out, if it's just abstract, there's no plan, but if there's an actual thing that you want to paint, be it an ocean, your cat, your backyard, or whatever, an apple. We're losing some paint on the brush, so come back and pick it up in different spots. But yeah, you're going to make a red apple. You're going to make an apple like a red apple. It's not going to just be red because where the light and the dark's going to hit it, where the shadows are going to hit and where the light's going to hit, there's going to be different colors on there, different shades of red, going back to black or going up to white so that it's a highlight. You can fool the eye with colors unless you're colorblind, I suppose. All right, pick up some more paint here. Okay, so let's look for some more. Number one, we got ones up here. And we got big areas with ones, so that could be, let's see, it looks like these are leaves, parts of a tree, but it also could be where the sunlight's hitting, because it is a bright color. It could be sunlight hitting certain spots in this world. So normally I would, again, switch to the thicker brush just to get the center point. And then I'd go around it and fill in the spots around it. So looking around, like there's a lamp right here. There's a big area with a number 1 here. I would fill that hole in with this big boy and then move on around it with the medium brush. And then if I had to get into the finer points around lines, I'd use the thinner one. All right, dip a little bit more here. Okay. So I'm going to do the little ones that are around it. We got a tiny little one right here, almost a teardrop shape. Okay. Kind of screwed that up into the 4 there by accident, but again, shaky hands. Okay, angle the brush. I got a window pane or something right to the right of where I'm painting here. And since that's a darker color indicated in that darker gray, just on the canvas there, if you end up having it run past it and you catch the line here, again, you can either wipe it off with your paper towel, hit it with some water, and then wipe it off. That depends on how particular you are. Back up over here. Let's see. Okay, so we got those ones there. We're working on these ones. This is a thicker area right here. There's a 2 next to it. Ooh. almost like I just drew a 7 or maybe a duck face. Duck lips, duck face. Ducks don't have lips, they have a beak. Duck beak. Yeah, sometimes I don't understand the shapes that they have on these paint by numbers, but again, once you finish the painting or at least get closer and you step back to see what you're painting, then you get an idea of what the heck these splotches are that you're doing. Okay, hang on. We're gonna wipe this brush because we're starting to get a little funky here. Okay. Get a little funky color screwing me up there, so we're gonna dip some more, just a tip. Dip the tip. Get back up here. Where were we? Up here, okay. As you start to paint more and more spots on here, you forget where you're at. So sometimes you'll see artists do something like this because they're trying to get back to where they were at. So sometimes you'll see me put my finger out. Let's say I want to get back to this spot over here. And my eyes are starting to get wonky because I'm staring too much at this thing. Plus, just to give you a heads up, I've got multiple lights on above me. Even though it's sunny and beautiful outside, that sunlight's not coming in. There's a patio awning, so it's making it shady right there. You want to be in a well-lit room. You want to be able to see everything that you're doing. So I have multiple lights on above me, like I said. All right, so we were up here. We got some weird shapes up here. Sorry for shaking that. All right, let's try to get in here. We got a number 1 next to a number 20, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Okay. I'm doing like peripheral painting here because I got this phone right in front of my face. I'm trying to look around it. I got a 1 up here. Ooh. Again, I'll come back and cover those actual the numbers that are on there. This kit I didn't buy. The first kit I bought, that pen. It's like a liquid paper pen that blots out those numbers on there. All right, so I was on this one right here, so I almost lost it. Couldn't figure out where I was at. It's just like drawing. Just filling in colors. When I used to paint, I didn't do paint by numbers. This is all totally new to me. I used to be just a regular painter and decide, okay, this is my canvas. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a horizontal line, and I'm going to do mountains in the background with, cloudy skies, and then maybe a cityscape here or whatever. And I do perspective painting just like you're taught in school, I suppose. Or just drawing just to draw. But paint by numbers, this is so particular. Now, could you take different numbers? Say, what if I wanted to take a 21 and put it in the 1 spot? I mean, sure. You don't have to follow directions. You can do whatever the heck you want. I don't know what the thing's going to look like afterwards, but who cares? Be original. Make changes. There, I think, is a 12. It's so hard to see. It could be a 19. So sometimes I'll take my magnifier and try to figure out what those numbers are as well. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Okay. I'm not even sure what a spring chicken is. For crying out loud. All right, we're just wiping the bulbous paint off of there so we can get a little bit finer. If you feel that you've had the pod open for too long, you can close it while you're not using it, because the paint will dry out. Okay. Let's get into this bigger area here. We can hear the birds in the background. Okay, we're going to need some more paint, so we're going to open it back up. Trying to see past the phone here. I'd be down to paint with other people if they want to collaborate. Do this at the same time. We could figure out like a Zoom type of situation, maybe. Before COVID, they used to have these painting, like you could go to their place and be a group of people and paint. I remember at the bar that I used to do karaoke, they used to, certain nights, like when they had trivia nights or whatever, certain nights they'd have painting nights. You'd pay like $25 or whatever, and depending on the size of the canvas, the gal or guy that was hosting it would bring a whole bunch of canvas. They'd bring all the paints, paintbrushes and everything, and you'd pay like $25, $50, depending on whatever the size was. And then they would basically give you, all right, everyone, we're going to do a black cat. We're going to paint a black cat, or we're going to paint a cactus, or, free night. And then everyone would sit in their spots and paint at the bar, drink your beer, drink your wine, drink your soda pop, and paint your picture. Then COVID came and the whole group experience pretty much disappeared. I don't know if anybody still does it anymore. I think, it's been a few years since COVID, so I think we may have group things now. You'd have to let me know in the comments if it still exists in your area. It's a weird, almost goose shape. And a weird kind of funky rectangle. Okay. Don't be afraid to stretch a little bit. Okay. All right, so we did that big area there. We got another one right next to it. We got a little one here. I went completely out of the lines on that one. And there. So we're going to need some more paint. Let's get an idea of what we're doing here. So again, I think some of the, like on the window pane, it looks like it's just sunlight coming in, but some of them appear to be like these leaves on this tree. There's a tree that's like overhanging outside the window, tree that's overhanging there. So with these kind of fall, like we're in the fall time, the way the leaves are browning, going from the yellow, orange to brown. So I think that's what that is there. It's the branches coming off the trees. And then where the yellow hits, like I said, in other spots, it could be where the sunlight's coming in as well. So, okay. All right, let's find out if there's some more number ones all over the place here. Got a one right here, a little tiny spot. Oh, I went over the line there. Right next to an 11. The problem is the 11 is a blue color, completely opposite spectrum of the yellow. So while I did go over that, it will shine through on that blue, which will kind of be a bummer. But again, we're all beginners. Every day or every time or every week when I do one of these paint by numbers, I'm a beginner again. Every time. Will this encourage you to just paint on your own without paint by numbers? I hope so. I think it'll just help you become a little bit more creative if you find that you've lost creativity or lost motivation to be creative. I heard from a gal the other night at karaoke telling me that when she was younger, she used to draw and paint, and as we all, I guess, kind of do. And she said as she's gotten older, she has no interest. I said, how can you have no interest? Well, I have a job, I have a family, I'm married, I have kids, and I have no interest. And I'm like, well, at least with your kids, what do you paint with your kids? They sit on their tablet and play video games or whatever. And I'm like, oh, geez, okay, well, I can't change society, but if you ever have an interest again, you should try painting by numbers from Number Artist. Give them a Real Talk chimp on there and get yourself a discount. I'm not paid because my channel is not monetized, and that's by choice. It seems like majority of YouTubers, that's all they want is to have a monetized channel till they get hit with their taxes, and they'll realize, why did I monetize my channel? So the ones are showing through there. Like I said, the ones. So eventually when this dries, I'll come back and I'll tap it with that yellow paint, and the one will disappear in there. But, I would let, a full day, like when you're done for the day of painting or you're taking a break, let it dry. Try to keep feathers and dust and kitty cat away from it, or you're going to have cat hair all over it and stuff. And I've come back with Sammy knocked over the canvas and is laying on it. Sammy is a painter as well. He just paints by paw. All right, so that's a 7. I don't want to touch that. Okay, these are all 4s. There's some 1s down here. I know I got more 1s up top up there. There's a ton of them up there. But we're going to drop down a little bit just so I can rest my hand. All right. Sometimes I'll search the bottoms to see if there's any 1s down here. Those are 7s. 7s. 2s and stuff. Okay. So I'm going to drop down over here just so I can rest my back and my neck a little bit here. Try this guy right here. It's a pretty long strokes. Like painting little states, the way these weird things are shaped. So this looks like it's a blanket hanging off this chair. So it's whatever the color is here. So I would think this is less of sunlight hitting something and more of an actual color on a blanket. A tiny little one right here. Tiny spot there. That's a 7. Those are all 7s. Here's a 1, a weird shape. I can pull the paint straight through this one because it's a nice long line. Okay, let me wipe this thing a little bit here. Pick up some more paint. Ooh, okay. Messed that one up a little bit. Again, I got the phone right in front of my face, so it's a little difficult. Once I figure out the tripod, things will work out a little bit here for me. Okay. Lost my place. Where were we? Down here. Okay, we got a 1 right here. Let's find it. Where is it? 1 right here. A tiny little point, little tricky spot here. Again, I'd probably use the fine line brush in that tiny spot. There's a 24 right next to it, so I'm not going to try not to cover up that 24. even though that spot is so tiny. See, I went over into the 5. What color? What do we got for 5? 5 is like a pale peach color, so that's gonna shine through there. That 24 is almost like an olive drab, so that's may look a little weird, but it's a darker color, so it should be cover up that yellow wherever I made a mistake. All right, looking for number 1s in all the wrong places. There's one right here. Pick up a little paint. A tiny spot right here. Tiny little sliver, and I lost it. There it is. Okay. Let's see if you can see this right here. Tiny little spot. Got a bigger spot right here. You can fill in the center. And then once you fill in the center, then you can brush to the outer edges. I know there's techniques for everything that I'm doing, but I can't for the life of you tell you what I'm doing. I'm just painting. Oh, we ran out of paint there. The paintbrush is starting to flatten out a little bit, so I will have to clean it off and go at it again here. Oh. Really going all over the place with this one here. Yeah, again, this may be too fine of a line brush to be using in such a larger space. I don't think I could get that off there. So let me hit it with some water. See if I can grab that off there. Yeah, it's just making it worse. The color's 18. 18 is black. So I can fill that in. I'll be able to fill that in with the black. You won't see that yellow. You may see a little bit of it, but all right. Continue on. We got a bunch of 1s over here for days. We got 1s. All right. Shark tooth. So when you have a straight kind of path, you can just drag the brush. Ochre. Got a 7 right next to this one, so we don't want to get caught up on that 7. I may be able to, when this fully processes on YouTube, I may be able to upload a background of music to this. Something soothing. Unfortunately, other than my breathing, the only soothing that I can hear is the refrigerator, traffic outside, and sometimes the occasional tweeting bird. But at least it's still calming enough. Okay, so the ones are all done there. Those are all sevens. Anything on the edges? No, those are all sevens. Looking, sevens. So I think that's going to be all the ones that were up top there. Looking across. Let's see, any more ones? Oh, we got some ones on the books, so these must be, maybe they're supposed to be labels or something here. Let's see. Trying to sit pushing the thing, and I don't want to push it. There we go. Straight down. Oh, that's the ice maker going off. When I start to feel more comfortable, I'll take the easel and stuff outside. But this is a tabletop easel. I bought this easel for a couple extra bucks when I was paying for the Number Artist. So when you go to numberartist.com or any of these sites, these websites, they're going to have deals, deals, deals. Buy 3 canvases, get a free item, right? So like I bought 3 canvases. I got a professional set of paintbrushes. I don't know how professional they are, but, and then I paid an extra $10, get it framed, or $5 to get it framed, because these things come as just regular canvas. And then for an extra amount, they'll staple it onto this little wooden frame type of situation here. I say that's a lot better. I have one that's not stapled to a frame, and obviously it's would be more difficult. I have to pin it up somehow to be able to do it, or pin it to a piece of cardboard or something, like an old Amazon box or something, and then try to do that. Okay, so we're going to go back and hit those ones there. Okay, I got sidetracked. It happens. I see a 1 right here. But yeah, for a little bit extra, you can have it already framed, and you can buy the easel from them. They have all kinds of accessories, of course, that you can buy. And like I said, there are tons of these places that have these paint by number sets. And of course, with the algorithm, you click on one, you're going to get hundreds of them, right? So I've already had like 20, 30 different type of kits pop up. So I thought about maybe I'll try a couple of different brands. This one took quite a few months. It's coming from China. This one took quite a few months for it to show up at the house. And I was getting a little scared, thinking, did I just screw up? And because it was one of those 4 a.m. type purchases, right? And I was like, there's no one to call, right? There's no one to call. It's not Amazon. I bought direct from the site. I didn't go through Amazon this time. So it's not like you can contact Amazon, and you can contact your PayPal or whatever, however you're paying for it, and cancel it. But there was a time there I actually thought this was never going to show up. So I just started, working on something else, playing video games or whatever. And finally it showed up, and under, great wrapping, bubble wrap, everything. They did a really good job on how they packaged everything. Nothing was damaged. I did the unboxing in a previous 3-minute video. You can watch that unboxing and see what comes all in the kit. All right, so you see the blanket here, the leaves out there. We're doing work here. We are doing work. All right, let's find some more ones. Looking up the book. Okay, we see one up here. I'm not sure if that translates on the phone here, but look at that. Oh, spot. Going up, looking up around the bookcase. Any more ones? And of course, you may never, your eyes just may not catch on the ones that are there. So as you start painting and filling in numbers, you'll suddenly see, oh, there's a one sitting there that I never got a week ago. So you'll just come back, open your pod, and paint that number one or the six that you missed 2 weeks ago or whatever. However long you're doing this, if you're going to spend an entire 24 hours, I don't know. You got to let it dry for at least an hour in between each coats. That's what it suggests. It's not something you have to follow in stone because you're you. Why would you have to follow something in stone? I don't know. Why do they say in stone? I don't know. Okay. I just dipped it in the water just so I could clean this paintbrush up a little bit here. I'm going to switch to the finer paintbrush, the itty bitty one here, just to try to do some of these smaller areas so you can see the difference of the paintbrush, I guess. Okay, so we got a large area there. We don't need to do that. So we'll get the itty bitty spots. And since this is such a small brush, you don't have to make big strokes. You can just tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Pick up a little bit more. Okay, we got this one here. Just tap it in there. I missed a spot. I mean, I overlapped it by accident. Oh, overlapped it again. So I think I'll stick with the medium brush. There we go. Okay. A tiny little 8 right there. So again, you can have multiple brushes in your hand if you're able to hold them, assuming you're not holding a phone at the same time. So you can have multiple brushes just off to the side, and say you want to go with the smaller line and then come back with the bigger brush and just grab it right out of your hand. Oops, son of a mother father. Again, darker color, hopefully, sort of. Again, I wouldn't use the smaller one to do such a larger area. So, but there are some tiny spots in there. I put it in the water. I ran it through the paper towel just so I can get that. See, it's flattened out now, so I'm going to try to get that point back. Just rolling it through the fingers there. There, we got the point back on there. Okay. Get some paint. Sorry, it's not. There we go. Try to get it so that it zooms in a little bit. Okay. All right, we were working on this guy right here. So there's a tiny little spot right here. Perfect for your fine line. And then it goes into a point, so I'll run the fine line into the point. Okay. This one has a little canal through here. Okay, so I'm going to leave that guy in the water and work on medium. Let's pick up some more paint. You'll see me jump around to different spots because, again, I lose my focus pretty quickly here. It's the ADD coming out, or the ADHD, or whatever the hell. The OCD, I don't know. Tiny little spot. I probably should have used the little fine line one in there, but we'll do our best. Okay, now we can come back and get these edges. Again, no one ever said you couldn't go back and work on the same spot, especially if you flubbed it up a little bit. Not against the law. Oh, gotta ran that right into the 7. Okay, my paint's getting a little funky. Really weird shape here. One next to it. Okay, we'll do one more of this one here. We're going to close up the one because it's starting to get kind of soupy in there. 13. Okay. There's a one right there. All right, so I'm going to put these guys in water for a little bit. I'm going to close this cap off. And we are going to take a roll into the backyard for a moment, just so we can get our phalanges working again. A sip. Let's go take a look at Sammy, see what he's up to. Okay. So what I'm going to, no, I guess I can't really do that without bringing everything with me. So, oh, that's right. I can just unplug the monitor, right? I think I can unplug the monitor. All right. We're just going to stretch here for a moment. All right. We're going to work on some number 2s just so we can let these number 1s dry. There's a bunch more number 1s up there that we can get to, but let's work on this number 2 a little bit because, like I said, if you keep the cap off for too long, your paint will get funky and the number 1 paint's starting to go funky. So let's work on number 2. So again, we're in the water just so we can clean up our brush here. Grab our paper towel. Try to get as much paint as you can off so you don't mix it up with the other one unless you're trying to go with that type of look. All right. All right, so right at the gate, number 2s. There's a tiny, cat hair. Like I said, Sammy, the elusive Sammy. Yeah, I'm talking about you, pal. The elusive Sammy does like to rub up against things, as cat will do. All right, so I lost that number 2. Where to go? Here it is. Teeny tiny number 2 here. There's a number 2 over here. Let's see if I can focus this a little bit here. There's a number 2. Oh, push the canvas. Again, a sturdier easel won't move as much. Here's a number 2 right here. Let's see. Trying to get that to focus. Oh, come on. Come on. Come on. It doesn't want to look at my hand because I'm on a cell phone, like I said. I'm on a cell phone. Sorry if this is kind of blurry. Like I said, once I get a different camera system and not have to use the cell phone. Let's see. Kind of a weird shape, but let's see if I can zoom that in so you can see what I just did there. Missed the tip of it. Let's see if we can get the tip of this. Okay, let's try that. Focus that in. So that, oh, son of a mother father. Can't take me anywhere. Again, that's going to be a dark paint in there, so I think, got to have mistakes. Well, as long as I can make it as light as possible. Well, there'll be a black paint on there, so. Hey, I told you I wasn't a pro here. There's no pros in baseball, at least in my world. All right, let's wipe that off. Try that again. Okay. There's a tiny little 2. Little sliver. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Number 2. Number 2, right there's a number 2. Number 2 is right here. All right, you see that number 2 right there? Okay. Get that little critter. Lost it again. Where did it go? Well, I can't find it for the moment. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Let's try this guy right here. Okay, let's find, there's a 2 over here. Right up against a 3. I definitely overlapped quite a bit on that one there. That was my bad. Okay, what we got? Any more 2s over here? 12. There's a little 2. See if I can find it right here. I left a little too much paint on that one. There's a 2. I'm going to switch to the little guy for just a moment. The little guy, the fine line. Just so I can go around the edges here. Or I should say up to the edges. It's right up against the 4. So I have a little bit of water on here, so it's going to thin the paint out. Make it flow a little bit smoother and not so chunky in certain spots. Even though I'm kind of running into the other lines. Luckily, those are darker colors, so. Okay, so the water will definitely fan the paint out a little bit more and won't let it get so blocky in there. A little chunky type. All right, so let's see, any more 2s just in this general area here. 23, 24. Tiny little 4s. There's a 2 up there. Okay, so there's a 2 right here. You may have more efficient ways than I do of painting, but okay, we got that 2 out of the way. There's a 2 up there. This one right up here. So this one I can just drag it. Oops. Ugh. What color is 4? 4 is not that much different. It's a little lighter. So I've come to the conclusion, or it's probably already a known fact, that when there's a dark color, there's always going to be a light color next to it. When there's a light color, there's always going to be a dark color next to it. Hence the highlight and the shadowing type of effect, I guess. Make sense? No? Okay. Let's look for some more number 2s. 2s. I see 2 2s, but those are 22s. More 22s. There's a 3s. All the way up. Those are all fours. And don't be afraid to, if you can't reach all the way up to these types of things, take your canvas down, put it flat on the table, and then just do it like you're drawing. Okay, there's a group of twos here next to the ones, so we'll knock some of those out. There's a 14 and a 6 right next to it. Okay. It's a 3. Kind of overlapped a little bit. Oh, I definitely overlapped that one a little bit too much. 13 is a kind of a pea green, a pea soup green, I guess. So that may shine through. So just have to lay it on a little bit thicker. Any more twos? And yeah, there's another small 2 right there. Okay. So we got a 2 right in here. Oh, we got 3 little 2s, 4 little 5s, 6. Bunch of little 2s. Okay. Probably want to use the thinner paintbrush for again. Oh. To get into those smaller areas. Hey, Sam. Hi. Do you want to come paint with me? Do you want to come up here and paint? I'm just going to wipe off the brush a little bit because it's starting to get a little mucky. Just putting it in the water here and... Come here, Sam. Sam. Okay, let's get back up there. Where were we? 7s. There we go. I went right over the 22, whatever that's there. So 22 is a brown. So it shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, not gonna paint over it so I can't see that number. The number right there, 22 there. So I'm not gonna try to paint over that again because I want it to stay there so I can come back and get it when we're up at those numbers. Small little line right here. Despite what you might think, well, why aren't you dipping it back into the paint? There's actually a lot of paint on the paintbrush just from one dip. That's a lot of paint on there, you know. You can keep going over and over. Make it a little bit darker to get rid of that. 2 is still going to shine through until I go back and do another coat on it. All right, looking for more 2s. There's more 2s up at the top again, like I said. All right, let's see what we can have. We got some 2s over here. We got a 1 right there. We got so many 2s everywhere. Holy moly. Don't let it overwhelm you. Painting is not supposed to overwhelm. If you get frustrated and overwhelmed, take a break. This is a hobby. Unless it's your job, then don't take a break. Take a break when your clock tells you to. But this is strictly hobby. But everything can be overwhelming, especially if you got a lot of stress and things going on in your life. I lost where I was. Somewhere over here, okay. But this is a wonderful distraction from the stress of our life. And this is one of the main reasons I started taking up these hobbies. Stress relief. It's relaxing. Trying to get that line, with trying not to overlap into 7, but I'm overlapping into 7. Okay, where was that? That was one fell swoop right there. We just dragged it from here all the way across, right on up. If it's a thicker area, you can absolutely do that. You don't have to let up. I mean, again, you can bring it straight up to the line if you need to, if you want to, or just put enough to just so that you can see it, so that when you hit the next colors around it, again, when you step back and look at it, you know, you'll start to see the leaves forming. Let's see if I can. Basically what we're doing are those leaves coming off the tree in the background there. So you see the sunlight coming in and hitting the panes, sunlight hitting the trees and showing that color on the window pane there, which is odd. Why would a leaf reflect onto wood? But I don't know. It's a painting. It's not necessarily supposed to be real. It's just suggested. But our eyes catch whatever our eyes catch, so. We got so many 2s everywhere here, so we'll go with some of the smaller ones. And the only reason why I'm starting at 1 through 5, you can start at higher numbers. You can go with darker colors first if you want. You don't have to follow anything. That's a 3. There's a 2. The longer that paint is open, remember the longer the paint's going to start getting chunky on the paintbrush. So that's why I dip it in the water here. Dry off. So you can see it's not as fluid as it was. It's becoming more chunky in there, and that's why we stopped the number 1, because the paint started doing that. The container's been open too long. The air is hitting the paint and it's starting to thicken up. Turn it more into like an oil, less of acrylic. See how as I don't know if you could see that, but as I drag the paint across here, it's just like paste. Okay. I'll do one more section here. There's 2 right here. Then we'll go back to the ones. It's right up against a 6. I guess that's 4. I don't know. There's no number there for some reason. I went into the 4. Okay. All right, so that's that there. So I can go back again with the other brush. Try to hit that line. Well, I closed up the number 2, so we'll go back to number 1, or we can go right on to number 3. Okay, now there's a ton of 2s and 1s still left, but like I said, I'm letting areas dry and the paint kind of recuperate because it's getting funky. So you see when I first open it, how luscious this looks? It's not all chunky and pasty, and it's open for the first time. Yeah. And you can use the paint on the lid before you actually go into the pot. So wetting up that paintbrush. So you can use the lid part of the paint before you drop into the pot, you know. Okay, so we've seen plenty of 3s. There's a big 3 right here. Let's go with the little 3 first. Don't really have to do much for that one. Those are 5s. Those are okay. We got a big 2 right there we could have gone to, but whatever. Look around for some more 3s. Just in the general vicinity, there's a 2 right there. There's a little tiny 2 right there. Okay, so we got this 3 right here, the larger one. I'm using the medium brush at the moment so I can still pick up larger spot plus smaller spots. A weird little Loch Ness monster shape. Went right into the 1. Right up against the edge of the 1. So this is a lighter color than your first 2. So we're in the blanket again. The blanket that's sitting on this little lazy boy chair. So whatever this decoration is on this blanket. Okay. Let's go and look for some more 3s. So this is obviously the highlight of the other darker colors around it. Let's see what we got. Any more 3s in the... Oh, we got a long 3 right here. This thing right here is a 3. There's a 3 going up this way here. Again, it must be highlights on the window pane. I'm just going to run this straight up till it runs out of paint. Ran out of paint. A 13, a 7, a 2, a 4, another 13, a 2. Okay. Then we have a 3 right here. For some, this may be tricky to do, pulling this line all the way up. Take your time. You can tap it up there. You don't have to. I'm using the palm of my hand here, holding on to the canvas, basically touching so I can keep this straight trajectory. There's a 21 right above it. I went into it by accident, so try not to cover it up so you can see it later on. There's a little 2 next to it. Okay, I don't see a 3 going up. I see 2s all over the place. 2s. Oh, here's a 3 right here. A little S shape. Kind of screwed up and went over the 14. There's a little 3. A little splotch. Can you see that? Okay. Looking for 3s in all the wrong places. Here's a 3 right here. There's a 3 right. Weird looking 3. Again, sometimes these shapes just make no sense at all. All right, it's up against a 5. All right, it's getting too much mucky muck. Using the water. Get my paintbrush back. All right, looking for 3. There's a 3 right there. A fine line. This is going to be tricky. Is it right up against the 7? A Nebraska shape. Okay, there's a 2 there. There's a 3. Look at a freaking weird looking fang. I got some overlap on there. Again, 4 is a darker color. That's going to go around that. So there's a big 3 that looks like not a butcher's knife, but like one of these chopping shapes. Chopper. Get to the chopper. Ran out of paint there. Yeah, as soon as I can figure out how to put the tripod up. Then we can try to do this a little bit better. Okay. Any more 3s around us here? Those are 5s. Here's a 3. It's a little egg shape. Okay. There's a 3 over here. Right here. You can see it when my hand's not in front of it. Okay. 5s and stuff like that. There's a 3 right here. Three right there. Right up against the 2. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Those are all 2s. There's a 3 right here. A little bit of overlap. Oh, stuck my hand right in the paint. Hang on a second here. Often thought, why don't I just wear rubber gloves, some neoprene gloves or something, so I don't have to keep covering my hands in paint, but that's what soap is for. Okay. Any more 3s? We got 2s everywhere. Okay. Oh, we got some 3s running up this side of the window pane, so let's try that. Try to zoom that in here. There we go. Let's go more towards the center here. Okay. That's a 7 going that way, 19, a 2 up there. Okay. Those are 5s. Going into 1s and 2s. 1s and 2s that way. Here's a 3 inside the lamp. Use the paint that's on the top of the brush. The cool thing about the number canvases as well is the different shades that they put that indicate what paint, color paint, like kind of closely resembles what you're putting on here. Close, not 100%, but okay. Realized the camera was not looking. Oh. Okay. Okay, let's see, 13s. We've got 2s all over the place there. 2s. Okay, so no immediate 3s are popping out, so we'll go back to 2. We can go back to 1 as well. Actually, we'll go back to 1 because 1 is probably gotten, let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit of luster back in. So let's go back into number 1. We're just cleaning up our stuff here. Okay, let's find us some ones. Oh, here's a one right there. Okay, we got a one right on the window pane. Got a little water on the paintbrush, so there's a little one right there. A little too much water on there. Those are twos. Okay, all the ones up there. Looking for ones. So all these ones that we originally started with. Let's see if I can try to cover up the numbers. See where we have any more ones that are down here. We got a win down this one here. I'll get rid of the fine line and go with the medium. Okay. So this can be this guy right here. We got a thin line going up that way, so. That one's going to be a little trickier, and there's more, too much water on the brush. Too much water on here, so it's a lot of runoff here. Kind of screwed that up a little bit there. Okay. So this one is going to go up into this little fine point. All the way up here. So this is definitely going to overlap. That is such a thin line right there. I can't, not on my own, I can't get that line. So it's going to overlap into the black on the right, which will be fine. And I think that's an 18. Which again is black, so yeah, you won't see all that runoff on there. That's 7, 1, there's, okay, so we got a big one area right here. So we're gonna hit the medium parts first, and then we're gonna come back with a thicker brush and do that. So let's get this here. A little bit more paint. Too close to the 19. Okay, I'm gonna switch over to Mr. Big Thing. What's a big guy? Focus. And you can do fine line with a thicker brush as well. You just gotta get right to the edge. And make sure if it's gonna fan out, it fans out towards the center. So with a go over, once this dries up, I go over and get rid of that one right there. The color's too light for that black one that's on there. Okay. Okay, we got a one. Is that a what? No, it's a 7. Okay, I thought it was 1. Okay, let's look for the number ones that are closer down here. It's funny, I'm trying to do number ones, but I see number 2s everywhere because we were working on number 2s. All right, so number 1s are going to be all up at the top again, like I said. So those are going to require me to do a lot of reaching up there. So let's close that up and get number 2, a few more. Not looking good for the home team there, but okay. Itty bitty number 2s here. Let's see if this thing will pick it up. A little bit number 2 here. Overlap that one a little bit. Oh wow, that's a super thin line right there. I'll have to take some of this paint off. Let's see if I can do this super thin line. I lost it. Ugh, running out of paint there. Like a weird M shape. My mom used to paint. She got a paint bug later in life. And she was a painting fool. She took classes with one of the neighbors who was a professional painter, I guess. I guess a professional painter is somebody that sells their art, maybe. So my mom took classes with her. She bought an easel, and she became a painting fool. She's never sold any of her art, as far as I know. But boy, did she paint. She was a natural. Our little two right here. A little peanut shape. We got a shape up here. So if you have a funny bone, does that automatically make you a comedian? Okay. Oh, what is that? 4. This one's definitely going to require the finer line because it is such a thin line. I can't even pull paint on it. Again, there's going to be black along the edges here, so if I run over these lines, you wouldn't notice it. A little 2 right there. There's a tiny little 2 right there. A tiny little 2 spot. Where's that 3? Oh, that's a 3. See, I almost screwed up and put the paint in there, but that's a 3 right there. There's a 1 little sliver of a 1 right there. All right, let's see. Number 2 is what we're working on. We got a 2 right here. Super thin line right here. That kind of went over as well. Those are 5s. Okay, there's a little 2s right here. Oh, completely went over on that one. Let's look around for any more 2s in here. And there's a 2. The cool thing about when you finish one of these things, you feel like you accomplished something new that you set your mind out to do, you know? You figure, I just wanted to do this to distract myself from whatever's going on in the world, stressing me out. I just needed a distraction from the freaking news, the stupid radio, the world. I just need a distraction. Great distraction. And when you finish something like this, you feel so accomplished. You feel like you can take on the world. I am going to cook my first sushi dinner. I don't like sushi. As far as I know, I've never had it before. Yeah, maybe I have. I don't know. I am going to be a sushi chef. Hey, you know, learn something new every day. You might as well. Life is too short to hide in your house and not do anything. You know, take a break from playing video games and paint a freaking picture. Sammy says he would do it if he could get his paws to hold a paintbrush. Right, Sam? There's a distraction. Hey, Sammy. Hey, Sammy. Hey, Sammy, can you tell everyone to like, share, comment, and subscribe? Could you do that? You got a yawn. He yawned. Oh, what was that? Tell everyone to like, comment, share, and subscribe. No? There you go. You want to come up here and hang out? You get a butt? Just got to check everything out. That's our monitor that we're looking at. You get a butt again. See, that's a good distraction right there. Oh, don't rub against. Oh! I just painted your paw. You now have an orange paw, sir. You're now an orange calico. Hey, Sam. All right, let's see. Here's a 2 here. Realize the camera's in the wrong spot. Oh, here it is. Okay. Our paintbrush is a little mucky muck right now, so we're gonna have to take some of this other paint off here. Oh. Okay. Let's do a little work here. Lucky Muck. All right, we got 3 there. Let's see where our 2s. Oh, we got 2s all over the place here. There's a 6 right next to it. My eyes got distracted and I went to a different number 2. I guess technically it's the same number 2, it's just fans out in different directions here. Oh, got that one all wonkied. The shape of a shield. There's a number 1. There's a 2 up here. A bunch of 2s up here. Oh my lord. Doing a lot of overlapping. I got too much paint on there. Okay, I got too much paint and it's mucking it up. Paint's getting funky. I'm messing it up now. I'm starting to get anxious. Getting funky. All right. I'm going to close number 2 up because it's getting super funky and go back to number 1. Number 1's a little bit better. So like I said, take breaks in between up in order to get its like luster back, or it's going to get too chunky. All right, where do we see those number 1s at? Number 1s. I know I saw number 1s, but when I was doing the number 2, but where are the number 1s now? Here's a number 1 up here. Yeah, this paint's coming out kind of chunky as well. We may have to go to a 4. Yeah, let's try a 4. Or we can go back to 3. Let's see, do we have any more 3s anywhere? Let's see. Yeah, we got a 3 right there. Looks like we already painted it, but it's so light. Okay. Oh, it's mixed with the other color, so it's coming out an orangish white here. We didn't clean our brush well enough. Okay. Number 3. We're looking for 3. I'm looking for 3s. And we're finding 2s again. There's a 3. Super fine line. And we mucked that all up. Twos all over the place. 5s. Any 3s that jump out at us? Do you see any 3s? There's a 3. It's right into here somewhere. Let me see. Right here. This little bulbous 3 right here. 3. Okay, what do we got? Look at my hand. I'm not trying to flippy the bird, but I got so many different colors on that middle finger right there. From just putting my hand on the paintbrush. That's actually kind of pretty finger there. Not trying to flip you off, just showing how many colors I got just on that finger. Okay, here's a 3 up here. Hiding. Oh, I went too far off of that one there. Okay, 3s. That's a 5. 5. Where are you, 3s? Here's a 3. Okay. Meow. Any more 3s around here? So again, this is the first time I've gone live actually painting. So I will, work on like trying to set a camera so that it stays on the canvas while I'm painting. I just haven't figured out how to do that yet. Maybe I have to, I'm not sure, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. That's why I bought the little monitor. It monitors my phone, so it allows me to see where I'm, aiming the camera off to here. So, but can I find another 3 while we're searching? I see 2s everywhere, 13s. That freaking ice maker's going off again. Looking for 3s. I see 2s everywhere. 5s. Oh, there's a 3. Okay, big old funky, weird 1970s psychedelic shape. They call me Mellow Yellow. Like a weird looking snake. Getting all funky with it. Ugh. That was just a disaster. You can tell I've been getting kind of tired here doing this now. All right, well, that was kind of a disaster. Paint's all over the place on that number 3 mark. But luckily, again, the black outline around it is going to take care of that. The 4 is a darker color, so when I come back in and hit that with the 4, right in that spot right there, it'll cover up and I'll be able to touch up those lines. So let's see. What else do we got? Any more 3s jumping out at us? Those are all 2s. I think it's good for now. All right, 2 hours of painting with numbers 1, 2, and 3. And we'll kind of roll back and see if we can tell what the hell we're painting. Eventually, it'll look like this. It'll look like that. So, still kind of hard to tell what it is. Some of the blanket, some of the window pane, and some of the leaves. But yeah. Well, for being a first time Paint by Numbers live stream, you'll have to let me know how we did. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, share mostly. Again, I'm not a monetized channel. I never will be. If you want to tip or do anything like that or buy anything in the store, none of it goes to me. It all goes to Alzheimer's research. And yeah, so with that being said, my forehead is named Real Talk Champ. Can I zoom out a little bit? I guess I cannot. Oh, you get to see a nose and some eyes? Okay. My name is Real Talk Champ. I'm a gaming live streamer and recent Paint by Numbers dude and building little model kits and such like that. We will try this again, and next time I will try to figure out how to make the camera work properly on this canvas, showing you what the heck I'm doing. Check out the arts and crafts playlist. There's all kinds of goodies in there as a distraction from gaming and life. And yeah, catch you later. Peace and chicken grease. I don't know how you stop.